Next guy. Mike, did you have a question?
Could you comment on the closing of Guantanamo Bay, and as you're campaigning in the counties in northeastern Kansas, are you getting any commentary on that?
Yeah, Guantanamo Bay is, can I comment on Guantanamo Bay? Gitmo, as it's commonly referred to. Guantanamo Bay is in the island of Cuba. We have a facility built down there for military detainees, enemy combatants we call them. I've been to Guantanamo Bay twice. I've been there first as they were building the facility, then I went back when it was completed. I've also been to the prison in Fort Leavenworth. I was the first one in the Kansas delegation to say, no way should we bring those soldiers, those enemy soldiers into our country, number one, or even into our state. I even had an amendment that would cut all the funding from flying them or bringing them into the United States of America. You know, Democrats want to bring them into the Northern Virginia court system and try them, and if they can't convict them, they'll be released to the general public in Northern Virginia. Within a few miles, walking distance of a mosque, of which two Saudi Arabians attended prior to September 11, 2001. They were on one of the jets that crashed into the towers in New York, just within walking distance of that mosque. So it's a bad idea. I've been fighting it. I was the first one in Kansas to fight it. I'm continuing that fight. I'll give you a couple of good reasons. First of all, Guantanamo Bay is the most modern prison facility on the face of the earth. It is designed for terrorists in that it keeps the instigators away from the foot soldiers. We found out when they first built the facility that you got a couple of ringleaders. They stir everybody up. Next thing you know, you've got a hunger strike. You've got some of these enemy combatants throwing their fecal tissue at soldiers. They're spitting on our soldiers. But when you separate those instigators away from the foot soldiers, everything's peaceful. There's no hunger strikes. There's no manure being thrown around. They're more compliant. But they actually get treated better than people do on death row in America. In fact, they get treated better than the general public. They get, in their cells, they have a big arrow that points towards Mecca. We give them a prayer rug and a copy of the Quran. I mean, we don't give a Bible to everybody else here in America. So they get food that's designed for what they're used to eating in their home country. I mean, what do they get, gruel up here at El Dorado? I mean, it's just that they go out of their way to make sure that these people are treated in a fair, responsible way. And to close that facility doesn't make any sense to me. We've spent $90 million making that facility down there, by the way, $90 million. The administration then came up with a plan to bring them here. When I cut the funding, or tried to cut the funding from bringing them in, one of the people in the Democrats in the Appropriations Committee said, well, how are they supposed to get here? I said they can swim. But we don't want to get them here. Once they were here, I had an amendment that would say they don't get any welfare benefits. The administration wanted to give them food stamps, cash, and health care, because they got to start somewhere. And then they came up with the idea to send their Uyghurs to, what was the island? There was an island in the Southern Pacific, and they were going to give the government of that island, which is a U.S. territory, Palau, I think is the name of the island, they were going to give them $200 million to accept these 17 Uyghurs. We only spent $90 million building the prison. We're going to give them $200 million? And that didn't make any sense either. The bottom line is they ought to stay in Guantanamo Bay. They should be tried under a military tribunal or a military court system. And if there's not enough evidence to hold them, we should send them back to their country of origin. We have a policy of not sending them back to a country of origin if we think they're going to be either capital punishment or somehow abused, torture or capital punishment. So we won't send the Uyghurs back to China, where they came from. So they want to just give them welfare benefits here in America. There are other countries that we will send them back to as well. But that's just the policy the government has today. If you combine that with the fact that we're reading Miranda rights to enemy combatants in Afghanistan now, according to what a personal eyewitness account of one member of Congress, Mike Rogers of Michigan, it's just a bad direction for us. It's harder to keep this country safe. They're investigating now. The administration has announced they're going to investigate the CIA on alleged abuses during the Bush administration. Now, this is something that's really going to dishearten the people out in the field that are trying to keep this country safe. And it's really a political attack against George Bush. So the direction we're going in Afghanistan and in the intelligence community is of great concern to me right now. But we ought to keep the detainees in Guantanamo Bay, where we built it for, move through the military courts. If they're not guilty, send them back to the country of origin. Kind of like country of origin labeling. Yes, sir.
Mr. Tiahrt, the Democrats and the Obama administration have virtually destroyed the industry in the city. The aircraft industry is in shambles compared to what it was a year or two ago. And the things that you see coming down the road, the user fees, the taxation, the $1 trillion of debt and more that the government has put on us and our future children. It's about time we took our country back. What would be your best suggestion to us as a group? What can we do to take this country back? We're gonna have to act. It's being destroyed as we sit right here.
Well, the question was, we see a lot of problems with this administration, especially in the aircraft community, and what can we do to take our country back? Right? Elections do have consequences, and we're suffering through the time now because a lot of people stayed home in 2008. They were either upset with President Bush or they were upset with the war in Iraq, and a lot of people stayed home. And now they're wanting that ability to go back and vote again. But 2010 is going to be a very good year, I believe. I'm an optimist, right? I could never have this job. But we're going to fight the good fight to stop as much as we can now and present better solutions, low-cost solutions, so we don't have to incur all this debt. And if you want to grow the economy, you grow it from the ground up and not the government down. We see this historically. If you look at what happened in the 1930s in America, we borrowed money, started new government programs, and unemployment never got below double digits throughout the 1930s. In 1990s, Japan tried it. They borrowed money and started new government programs to help overcome their recession. They now refer to that as their lost decade, where the average per capita went from second in the world to 10th in the world. So that doesn't work. But what we do today through our State Department, when we're trying to help a third world economy, we go into the country and we create microloans. We try to start an economy at the ground level and grow it. We did the same thing in 11 different Eastern Bloc countries. We actually worked with fund managers in the countries where our government made loans to the fund managers who then made loans to small businesses. And today, each and every one of those countries has a strong private sector economy.